case, 4 and 5 were close, but I think you can make a case that James Toney swept the next 5. And if that's the case, then he's up a point right now.
Which is very much up for grabs.
Right. And if Reggie won one of those, you know, the fight's either way. And like so many fights, especially championship fights, it's a matter of which man is the better condition. James Toney did get a second win against Michael Nunn. He did get a second win against Berkey Sosa, an unbeaten contender that he was his other outstanding win on his record. I think he needed a second win in round 8, and it's possible that that he has more left in his tank right now. Reggie Johnson.
Left hand by Reggie Johnson, Alex. Ooh, and a wild left misses. James Toney overcommits. A little off balance after throwing a wild right. And if I had to pick the fresher of the two right now, it looks like Reggie Johnson. The end of the ninth. Way here in Las Vegas, Nevada. Dan Deerdorf, Alex Walla with you for this IBF middleweight championship fight between Reggie Johnson, the challenger, and James Toney, the 6-week title holder. You just joined us. James Toney took the title by defeating Michael Nunn last month in Davenport, Iowa, in a shocker, a huge underdog. He had an 11th round knockout after trailing on all 3 judges' scorecards.
Get out! Great.
He is making a relatively quick defense of that title, only 6 weeks later.
I think it's the 3rd quickest first title defense in middleweight history, Dan. And if he loses his title, he'll be the shortest title holder in middleweight history outside of Sugar Ray Leonard, who gave up his title, didn't lose it in the ring.
He's got a chance to enter the history books in lots of respects. One of the facts, he's the youngest fighter to win a middleweight crown in over 50 years, being only 22 years and 6 months of age. But I don't think that that short title reign is quite what James Toney has in mind.
No, that's not a way he wants to get in. I'll tell you, Dan, neither man right now is able to take this fight over. I think it's there for the taking, but neither man has it right now physically to step up and do that. Each man doing their share of scoring in spurts. And there's an ebb and flow to the fight. I thought that Reggie did enough in the early seconds of round 9 and the closing seconds to win round 9 and keep the fight very close.
And there is Elizabeth Steelman, a young lady with spinal bifida who has been befriended by James Toney. He flies her and her family to as many of his fights as he can. They communicate quite often, and she has a very special place in James Toney's heart. And she knows how to play to a camera as well. Quite a cutie there, Elizabeth.
Richard Steele removes a little tape from James Toney's glove. Good left, caught James Toney. I thought he might be a little more hurt than he is. He responded well, shows the right hand to Reggie Johnson, and loads it up and fires it. Does not land it.
These rounds are fleeting by, this championship fight, scheduled for the 12-round distance. We only have 2 rounds to go here at the end of the 10th. Let's go to the 11th. James Toney, Reggie Johnson. A little whirly whirl there by Reggie Johnson. Right now, Alex, they have had a couple of rounds back-to-back that can go either way on the judges' scorecard.
Yeah, they might have 6 minutes for a world championship.
And I wholeheartedly agree with you.
You know, judging is so subjective, and we've seen some crazy scorecards, but on our scorecards at least, the winner of these next 2 rounds is a middleweight champion. And that is not a good sign. Reggie Johnson laying on the ropes.
Remember early in the ropes how quickly early in the fight rather, how quickly he got off the ropes and how adept he was at slipping underneath Toney and getting out. He's right, now he's standing there and taking.
He spun well eventually in that one, but he didn't let his hands go once he had James on the ropes. Remember, it was the 11th round when James Toney put the lights out on Michael Nunn with a huge sweeping left hook.
We'll have that report later in the show.
And you have to say that neither man is fighting with the kind of determination that you would expect from fighters with a title at stake. It may be that both men are very, very tired. You know, you sit here, it's easy to sit here at ringside and say, why isn't he jumping on him? You know, he can win a world championship and all that. And these are two very competitive young men with a lot of pride, and you have to think the reason they're not is that they're dog tired.
Well, how about the fact, Alex, that they're two young men as well? I mean, Johnson's 24, James Toney only 22. Johnson in his first title fight, Toney obviously in his second, having just won it 6 weeks ago. So not a great deal of experience here in title fights either. But you would think that if you're Reggie Johnson, you know that the other guy has the belt and you don't. And if you're going to win it, you best be decisive in trying to win it.
If Reggie Johnson
willing to tie up
comes up short in this try for the title defense, he'll look back at the tape of this and say, why wasn't I letting my hands go?
We'll be right back with the 12th and final. Well, the crowd here at the Hilton, many of them come to their feet to try to urge their respective fighter on here in the 12th round. James Toney's section begins to chant his name.
Both corners told their men, you need this round to win. Win this round and you're a world champion.
Well, unless there is a knockout or an extremely decisive round here in the 12th, Alex, I think both of these fighters have done something they don't necessarily want to do, and they put it into the hands of the judges at ringside. Who, by the way, I might as well tell you, are Patricia Jarman, Rick Bays, and Mike Liana. They are going to be the ones, if this goes the distance, who will decide who wins.
You might see the concentration of Patricia Jarman as the camera comes around, the woman in the red dress sitting at ringside. Look at her leaning down through the ropes, looking up at the two men.
She's either very interested or she's gone to sleep. What do you
Big cut.
Oh,
big cut on James Toney.
Over the left eye of James Toney. He's having trouble seeing, Alex.
1:15 left in the round.
Oh, you can see Richard Steele looking at that cut.
And that might be just enough of an edge.
Oh, look at James Toney trying to squint and get the blood out of his eye.
You don't get any points for cutting a man, but Reggie Johnson has a man who is having trouble seeing, and if he can take advantage of it, he is not taking advantage of it yet. Toney did a kind of a macho, come and get me kind of thing, and that might have scared off Reggie Johnson momentarily. But you see him pulling at the blood.
Oh, and a good left hand, that time by James Toney. Step back. He clipped Reggie Johnson's jaw. And even though cut, it's James Toney who's pressing the action.
He has never been cut before.
Inside 20 seconds of the 12th Don't forget that we'll have a report later in the show about Mike Tyson and Razor Ruddock's fight from last night. We'll also return here to Las Vegas and get the judge's decision. But right now, let's return to New York, and here's Frank Gifford.
Thanks, Dan. That critical.
12, let's take a look at how that vicious cut over the left eye of James Toney occurred. Watch the heads, and boom. 2 heads cracked. Now let's go up to Michael Buffer for the decision.
A split decision. Here is the official scoring. Mike Liana scores the bout 114 to 113 for Reggie Johnson. Ricardo Bay scores at 114 to 113 for James Toney. Patricia Jarman scores at 115 to 112 for the winner and still middleweight champion of the world, James Lights Out Toney.
Reggie Johnson disbelieving that he lost a split decision to James Toney, who retains his title. We'll have an interview with James Toney later in the program, plus we'll have a report on last night's fight between Tyson and Ruddock. Right now, how about a little horse?
Something, and the punch